In my mind, power equated to asshole and evil. But after reading the book, I realized, power is a tool. Welcome to the Trill MBA Show, the career management podcast teaching Black women how to become unstoppable at work. I'm Felicia Ann Rose Anuha, aka the Trillist MBA, delivering the inspiring truth through strategies and tactics so you feel protected, confident, and ready to conquer your career. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I'm so excited today because we have our first guest after wrapping up the 7 Rules of Power. I wanted to bring on the person who introduced me to Dr. Pfeffer's work, my former manager, now one of my besties. Welcome to the show, Breana Jones. How are you?
Good morning, Felicia. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Thank you for coming on the show. So
it's a pleasure. It's an honor.
First of all, I learn something new every time I talk to you. Like every time we talk on the phone, I leave the conversation like, okay, I didn't think about that. And one of the things that I love that you do is you always are looking and curious about new knowledge. How can I get better? How can I sharpen my toolkit and make sure I'm ready? So one of the things I want to thank you for is you introduced me to this book, Power, and it blew my mind because I was like, oh, we did this wrong.
Completely. Totally.
Completely did this wrong. But I had questions because I was like, okay, this sounds good in theory, this gaining power at work. But does this work for Black people? Does this work for women? Does this work for us? That was my question. And the funniest thing was I went searching for a more recent book because Power came out in 2010. Mm-hmm. So then I found the 7 Rules of Power, which came out in 2022. And I was like, oh, you just answered my question, sir. The tagline is surprising but true advice on how to get things done and advance your career. And the funniest thing is I had that question and I felt like he wrote this book to answer that question. And in the beginning of this book, he talks about how he wasn't going to write another book on power. He was just like, I wasn't writing this book, but clearly y'all don't get it. So let me tell you one more time. So I want to know from you, how did you even come across this book, Power?
Ironically enough, someone shared it with me. So my line sister called me one day and she said, what's your address? I figured it was a Christmas card. And she sent me a book and she said she had gone through this Woman on Boards training session. Mm-hmm. And she had been exposed to the book and she said, everyone needs to read it. And when I read it, I thought of you. And so I wanted to share a copy with you.
Oh, I really appreciate that.
Sweet. And then I read it and I was like, oh. So first, like immediately, I read it and I got angry. Because I said, oh, I've been doing this completely and totally wrong. Mm-hmm. So maybe he's wrong. Because there's no way that I've been this wrong. But then I kept reading and I said, oh, and then I referenced other things. So because you've worked for me, you've heard me say everybody needs to read Sun Tzu's Art of War. Like not the cleaned up version that they do for business, but like the original
Art of War.
This supported the tenets that I learned in Art of War. Mm-hmm. Behind me, I have Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power, which is a little bit satiric, definitely more scathing, but again, it still plays out. So the tenets and the concepts behind it of like, this is how you gain power are so very true. And I'm just like, I don't understand how I missed it. So what I did was, because it had been shared with me, I figured, let me share it with everybody. And I think I recall the conversation where we talked about it and I said, I don't think you will like this book.
You did. And I was
Because you
like,
are always anti-power. But then the more I read it, I realized this book is telling you it's not about power as an end goal. So this isn't a guide for how to be a Bond villain. That's 48 laws of power. This is telling you how to use power for your end objective. And I said, oh, well, since I know you are, Trill MBA, this was something that you could and should have. So I said, get you a copy.
yes. So you shared it with me. And before reading the book, I think it would be fair to say, like, I don't want nothing to do with power. Because in my mind, power equated to asshole and evil. But after reading the book, I realized, oh, power is a tool. So now I equate power with money because I've never thought money was evil. As a half Nigerian Capricorn, I think money is great. Now, I think if you love money and that's all you care about, and you don't care about other people, then I think that's where you go awry, because it's the love of money is evil. Like you worshiping money. But God gave us tools. And now I understand power is simply another tool. What you do with the power, just like what you do with the money, that's what makes the difference. That's where you sell your soul or you don't sell your soul. I mean, that's where you get Beelzebubs in government. And the funny thing was, he wanted to write this book about that man. I will not say Beelzebub's name, but it's polarizing. But when you look at the 7 rules of power, and every time I see like, oh, they just breaking all these rules, just like the Constitution doesn't mean anything, blah, blah, blah. And it literally is this is the second rule. It's just break all the rules. That's how you show you have power. That's how you gain power. And so it left me feeling like, like that sounds good in theory, but as a Black woman, how will I be penalized?
I can see that. I would say out of all the rules he put forth, the breaking of the rules was the one that set most not right with me. Not because I'm particularly a rule follower, but to your point, this is really going to work for me because... But then I realized he said that you had to break the rules. He didn't say how you break the rules. And so I realized, there have been times when I've gone in and tried to break rules, but I broke the rules the way other people broke rules. No. You have to break the rules as only you and only you as a Black woman can do. So it's maybe you have to be a little bit more strategic in how you break the rules. Maybe you have to test. I mean, go in. Don't be a Tyrannosaurus Rex, be a Velociraptor. So no, you don't go full throttle, I'm breaking the rules. It's, let me test. What does this gate look like? Where are the weak points? And then you get through. And once you break that first rule, then it gets subsequently easier. But you have to be, but with all of this, you have to be strategic. As a Black woman, no, you're not going to take this book and say, hey, all of these rules apply to me and I can do it like, John does. But you have to put it in our vernacular, our lexicon, and that's how you're going to be able to get it out.
Yeah, it has to be in the context of our lived experience, because what we don't need everybody doing is just going to work and like full bull in China shop, because the forces are going to lift you and kick you out.
Yes, they should. And to be clear, everyone can't be the powerful person, because if everyone is vying for power, then we see how that appears now. I think what you have to do is you have to, again, are you looking, what's the power for you in that situation? Is it your team? Is it your department? Is it your company? Is it your family? Like, again, these rules apply to everywhere. You just got, again, adapt.
Yeah. I think one of the most powerful rules is that building your personal brand. And I feel like it's something that now has become a cliche almost. You got to build your brand. And as a marketer, when people say that, it means a certain thing to me. And I be looking at people like, you don't even know what a brand is. Like,
I hate that term. As a classically trained CPG marketer, when someone says, build your brand, I'm looking and I'm like, do you really have the time, energy, and money to build your brand? Because building a brand, and it's not just slap on a new shade of lipstick or, update your resume or get on social media and post some pictures.
Right.
You really have to start with who are you? What are your values? What's your mission? Like, what are your absolute do's and don'ts? Where do you want to be? Who are you talking to? It's a process. So building your brand, I laugh.
Yeah, I want people to stop using build your brand when it comes to a personal brand, because what people think building a personal brand is like changing your wardrobe and changing your hair and then cosplaying as some whatever you believe is a boss babe adult. And that's not building your personal brand. You're being an actress. What you truly want to do is own and drive your narrative.
You want to tell your story.
Yes. And you want to craft the story that you want, that's authentic to you, but it's really about driving your narrative and controlling your reputation. That's really what this is about in the workplace. When it comes to, hey, I'm trying to get promoted, if you use LinkedIn strategically, that could help you, but you have to understand the company culture that you're working within. If you work in a more conservative culture, they don't want you out there splashy. And, they even, in according on what level you are, the PR people may have some words for you. The corporate comms people may want to dictate what you say and what you do in your public space. So when you're playing this game, what's more important is the narrative. Are you dependable? Are you reliable? Do you get stuff done? Right? Are you driving the business? Are you a go-to for information? Like, what is that narrative about you that adds value to the company?
Well, I think brand is like power in that it's a tool. And it's for what are you using it? So I always start with why. Why are we doing this? Why am I building my brand? Why am I telling my story? Why am I trying to get this power? Is it for something as simple as I need that promotion, or I want that promotion, or I want that title? Or is it I want freedom?
Ooh.
I want options. I want security. And this book was so powerful for me because I thought I had put those pieces in place to get security and freedom and options. And I realized that, yes, I had done the work, but me doing the work presented the illusion of security and freedom and options because I'd lacked the small yet powerful element of power.
I think one of the things that I regret in my career, and I hate to even have a regret around career, like, because at the end of the day gonna end. So I'm just like, I don't want to have regrets about work because at the end of the day, this isn't going to mean anything. This isn't the meaningful thing. When I take my last breath, this will not be the meaningful thing. However, right now, as I am in the market looking for my next role,
Same.
The regret that I have is that I didn't curate a network that has more power. I feel like half of my network right now is unemployed or being threatened to be unemployed because I have people my friends that work for the government.
No security, no freedom.
No options. And then I look at myself and I'm like, wow, because I don't have power, I can't give somebody a job. That's where I was just like, something's got to change and we've got to move differently, especially now more than ever. I mean, I am tired of unprecedented times.
I want to go back to boring.
I want to go back to boring, predictable, like I don't even think people are using PIPs anymore. I think they just firing people. Just, you're fired. We don't care about your performance. We don't care about nothing. We just fired you for no good reason.
At will country. So when I read the book, I wondered, if it was still applicable. Is it still applicable? And I realized, yes, because to your point, the day has not ended. So I still, in my next opportunity, have the ability to go in, clean slate, and really put these tools into place. But the really powerful thing, at least for me, was when I read this book, I could go back and I could do a postmortem on my entire career. And I knew exactly where I had messed up. I knew exactly where I said, oh, the part where he said, don't work harder, essentially work smarter, do less work, network more. And I said, oh, because I'd been brought up to believe in a meritocracy. Do the work. Show people what you can do. They'll appreciate you. They may not like you, which again, get over the likability piece was in there. And I was like, oh, I nailed that. Intentionally or otherwise, I nailed that piece. But that's an element that we as women have to deal with because at that time in my career, I had babies. And so, yes, I have a phenomenal spouse who, had I said, hey, I need to go to this happy hour, he'd have been like, yeah, I got the kids, it's fine. Or, my mother, when she retired, she moved down here, she would have said, yeah, I got it. But I was tired.
Yeah.
But you know why I was tired? Because I was working and doing the work and doing those things. And I also loved in this book that he said, do the extra stuff. So essentially what this man said was, don't do what they hired you to do. Do what you want to do. And I said, oh, I missed that because I was doing what they wanted me to do for a paycheck, where what I should have been doing was what I wanted to do for my end goal, which was freedom, security, and options.
We're going to dive deeper into that because I think some people are going to be like, what? So when we get back from this quick break, we're going to go into what does it look like to do what you want to do at work when we get back. Hey guys. So we're just beginning the new season. We're off to a running start, but we have digital tools that accompany each episode to help you work through some of the tactics and strategies that you need to put into place so that you're thriving at work. So go to TrillMBA.com, and if you haven't already, sign up for our freebies and you'll get access to not only these digital tools that go with these episodes, but you'll also get access to every digital tool I've ever created that's free to you to help you in your career. Now, let's get back to the show. So how would you have done what you wanted versus doing, quote unquote, your job?
So again, my job was to manage P&Ls or to manage products or brands. And that's what I actually enjoyed that. But, again, I liked I like dealing with the community. I like, being part of an ERG community. Mm-hmm. An example of this was, I joined, whether it was the Black Champions Network or Beacon or whatever it was called at the organization, right. I joined it. And in some cases, as the executive, I led it.
Yeah.
But I didn't always make the organization acknowledge that. So I didn't get credit for those things. As a Black woman, I should have been a little bit more strategic and said, sure, I will head up an ERG, but I'm going to head up the ERG that's headed by this person who has power. I'm going to pick the one. This is somebody that I can't ever get on his calendar. I can't ever get to talk to him, but I know he's active in this ERG. I may not be part of that community, but I'm going to learn to be part of that community because it's going to give me exposure to that person.
Oh, yes.
That's how I would reconfigure what I did. I would have focused also not just on the things that made me comfortable, but the things that gave me power, the access, the visibility, the person who was going to speak about me. because they knew me in a different way. Everybody knew Breana was going to launch that product on time. Everybody knew Breana was going to come in under budget. But you may not know that Breana also speaks 3 languages. Because Breana showed that off here. Or you may not know, which came into the likability piece. Because we all know sometimes we're not viewed as likable for whatever reason. Because I couldn't be likable when I was coming in under budget and driving this. But it gave somebody a different purview of me, which facilitated the power. So that's what I meant by that.
Yeah, I want to give people an example. At one of the companies I worked at when I was more junior, there was a Black woman leader, and she was a great manager, like good people manager, really took care of her people. And she should have been promoted way sooner than she was. In fact, our little nickname for her was Sweet Baby Jesus, because she was just so kind.
She was never going to make it to the top.
And it's not that she's not going to make, she's still working and stuff, right? It's not that she's not going to make it. It's just that the critique that she would get is that we don't know if you're going to be able to show executive toughness or some mess they made up, right? But they dinged her for being nice.
Which is in the book. I don't know how many times I went through, highlighted, underlined, put little nasty notes next to the part where he said, it is better to be feared than liked.
Yes.
And I said, another place that I went wrong.
Right.
Went out of my way to be perceived as pet, not threat.
Yes.
When maybe I needed to give you a little bit more of that bite.
Be the threat.
I can't be full out threat, but I can give glimpses or how am I doing it? And funny enough, when I read it, I thought of Kamala Harris. She was perceived as too nice. The smile, the kindness, people talked about that. And I was like, she really needed to come out there with a little bit more bite.
Okay, so this is the conundrum. Let's talk about it, right? Because on one hand, as a woman, you feel like I'm going to get dinged if I show up in all this masculine energy and I give it back to you, what you're putting out there. Now you're going to be mad at me for putting a mirror to you. And so we felt the effects of that. That's happened. That's a lived experience for a lot of women in these spaces where you have to have some grit and some power. So then you retreat and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to show up as the nice person. I'm going to be nice. And then your competence is questioned. And he talks about that in these books. Like, if you're nice or you're amenable, then they'll question your competence. And I'm like, what? And then she got them little cute comebacks, but like, she didn't really get down and dirty with it. And I think what happened was people didn't respect that. They actually respected this ugly, vile language and narrative this fool created for her, even though she was 20 million times more educated and accomplished than he could ever be. So instead of her coming down and speaking in that language, because that's what it feels like, right? It feels like you're dumbing yourself down. But look at your audience. And I think that's a big lesson we can take. Look at the landscape. How does your company operate? What is your company culture, right? One of the things he says in the 7 Rules of Power is he talks about not showing up as likable to be likable, but showing up how people need you. And it's funny because I thought about you and I was like, Breana done said this. But you said it in the context of managing people. Like, be the manager that person needs, not the manager you want to be. So like, this is what he talks about, because we've talked about this authenticity, right? He's like, throw that authenticity BS out the window. Show up to gain allies. Like, show up with a purpose. And I think that's no different whether you're managing up, managing down, managing side to side. You have to show up how people need you to show up so that you can drive your narrative with them and get to your end goal. But the first thing you have to do is you have to have a plan. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about your plan to apply these principles when we come back from the break. Hey guys, like we're talking about today, you need to make a plan. And I have just the perfect tool for you. I have it on discount right now. If you go to trilLMBA.com, you can get to my session about building a career plan using the PI model. So we talk about getting your performance, your image, and your exposure up, and why all of those things play into your plan for power. So not only do I want you to use the free tools that I've made available to you for the 7 episodes of Power, but I also want you to spend some investment on yourself and go through this course and create your PI model plan to manage your career in power. All right, now let's get back to the show. All right, guys, welcome back. Before we wrap up, we're going to get into some high-level thought processes on how you can implement some of these rules of power as a Black woman in corporate. And if you're not a Black woman and you're watching or listening, thank you for joining. These rules apply to you too.
These rules apply to
everybody.
But the reason everybody can't be successful is because everyone's going to interpret it differently. Yeah. So I think when you're putting your plan together, the first thing you got to think about is, what's this mean for me? So you can't go through here. Again, these 7 steps, amazing. But you can't go through these 7 the way that you've always gone through, or you would always go. So the one about getting information. I'm always big on getting information. If you haven't been able to get information, or the information you've gotten previously hasn't worked for you, you got to think about, how am I going to change that? Yeah. So I personally think these would be easier to implement in a new job, in a new career, in a new setting. But you don't have to. You just have to tweak and not do what you've always done. You have to unlearn to acquire that power.
So that speaks to rule number 1 in the 7 rules of power. Get out of your own way. This whole, I don't want to build a personal brand. I'm not going to break rules because I'm scared. I just want to work and get paid and go home. I don't want to go to the happy hour. I just want to be left alone. Then you're going to be left out to slaughter when the layoffs come.
I'm going to be a little bit more blunt. What you're doing isn't working. So doing your job gets you a paycheck, but it does not get you your end goal. It does not get you freedom. It does not get you security, and it does not get you options. It likely doesn't even get you visibility. Or if it does, it gets you visibility as the person who gets stuff done, not the person that they want to bring into the inner circle.
Right.
So you have to rethink that. And you have to say, yeah, I'm tired. Why are you tired? You're tired because you spent 10 hours responding to emails. Stop responding to all those emails. Respond to the ones that matter the most first.
Yeah.
That's this whole book. This whole book talks about your job is actually the vehicle by which you are going to gain power. So how do you leverage your job to get what you want? And if you want a paycheck, keep doing what you want to do. And again, no judgment. Love paychecks. But if you are saying, I am not happy, I am dissatisfied, I want a seat at the table, then you have to rethink how you are thinking about work.
That's one. Now let's go another direction. If you want to keep a steady paycheck, if you want to build a better sense of stability, then you need to gain power. Because you only focus on getting that paycheck, it will be the fastest way that you lose that paycheck. And you'll be scrambling to try to figure out another paycheck. And you don't have any power. You haven't built any power. So now you stuck. And I'm speaking from some personal experience here, right? Like I hadn't built power. And so what that means is I am not having the career that I should be having in my mind, or the career that I thought I was going to have, more stability, more predictability, because I don't have power to create that in my career.
I mean, again, I've been the senior VP. I've been the head of marketing. I've been the CMO. My resume is not going to get me my next job. My next job is coming from, hey, I heard about you. Or I know you worked with so-and-so on that project. Or so-and-so spoke well or spoke glowingly about you because, you had a conversation here. And so again, it's not the what I've done, it's the how I've leveraged what I've done to put me in the right spaces. That's what power is for me.
Yes. Yes. That is so. Listen, Breana, I could talk with you all day, but before I let you go, I need 2 last questions. One, what do you wish people reading these books will do differently the next day after they finish? What is the first thing you would want somebody to implement or start? Where do you want people to start?
First thing I want people to do when they read this, if it hasn't already happened as you were reading it, is again, go back and do that. Really go through and honestly look at, where did you go wrong? Was it you should have turned left when you went right? Or was it you didn't go far enough? But think about how you did not achieve that step so that you can go in and achieve it and change that for the next time.
Perfect. And then where can people connect with you?
As Felicia said, I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm one of those people who went, typical, had a job, was radio silent, didn't care about building my brand. I was too busy building other people's brands. But recently I've said, why not? Somebody asked me, why was I hiding? So I've decided to come out from the dark. Breana Jones on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect, follow, please engage. I have time, and I have some future projects coming out. I am previewing this on here for you, Felicia. I don't even think you know this.
This is exclusive.
Exclusive. The Underachieving Overachiever.
Yeah. I'm so excited.
She's coming to you.
I'm so excited. What, is this a book, a newsletter? Like,
definitely going to be a book of essays.
Yes.
Putting some things on Substack.
Ooh, I'm so excited. Okay. So if you don't know Breana Jones, you know Breana Jones now, and check out her LinkedIn, guys. She's forever dropping gems every day, it feels like. So make sure you connect with her, and do me a favor. When you connect with her, if you're trying to connect in her network, let her know that you found her on this podcast. Don't just click connect randomly and don't have any context. I don't know why people do that on LinkedIn. Like, give me some context.
The reality is I have a rubric for who I connect with and how quickly I connect with them. So if you can put some context and you say, hey, I found you through Felicia, I found you through Trill MBA, then I am much quicker to respond.
Yes, please do that. And so, guys, listen, we're all we got. Breana, I appreciate your support. I appreciate the lessons. I appreciate you sharing the lessons with my audience. Everybody out there, let's give it up for Breana Jones. All right. So if this conversation resonated with you, I want you to go back and listen to any of the episodes in the 7 Rules of Power series that just wrapped up last week, so that you can deepen your understanding about how to enact these rules and how to engage and gain power in your career, which is more important now than ever. The other thing is, I want you to share your biggest takeaways on this conversation and on these 7 rules of power in social media. So if you're watching us on YouTube, share in the comments, like, your thoughts. Let us know. What are you struggling with? Ask us questions there, and let us know how you're applying these insights to your own career. So Let us know what's going on. And that also helps us as we continue to talk about, and I continue to bring on people who are working to not only enact power in their own careers, but helping other people enact power in their careers as well. So this season is all about power, guys. We are going to take back our power. We're going to take control of our careers, and we're just going to be badasses all year long this year. Okay. So thank you for watching the show. And until next time, keep it trill. Well, guys, that's a wrap on another great episode of the Career Management Podcast for Black women. Yes, girl, this show is just for you. We're here to tell you how to play that chessboard at work, girl. So subscribe, comment, like, follow us on social media at Trill MBA Show. Listen, every time you tell one of your friends, you share this information, you share this podcast, it helps us to grow and make even more dope content just for you, unapologetically. That's why we're here. Now, if you are facing a workplace dilemma, such as a performance improvement plan, or you're not able to secure your promotion and raise that you have worked for and you have deserved, basically, if these people are playing in your face, we are here to help. Go to trillmba.com/coaching to schedule a one-time one-on-one call to workshop your specific dilemma with me. Or schedule a consult to get more information about the consulting packages that I do offer on a longer term basis. As always, you can reach out to us with your listener letters and your questions at trillmba.com. Until next time, guys, focus on your best possible outcome. Ask for help when you need it. Please, please, please ask for help. And as always, keep it trill. I'll see y'all next week.